Awesome.
Cool. Episode 4. Let's do this. Yeah, nice. So I guess we're not going to be talking about a specific kind of exercise topic today.
No.
We're going to do a bit of a recap of stuff we've done recently, plus a bit of just general training talk, I think. So obviously you just, well, when was it? Like, it wasn't last Sunday, was it?
No, it was the 23rd. So
yeah,
almost 2 weeks
23rd.
ago.
You went around the London Marathon, didn't you? So,
Absolutely.
I mean, I obviously know already everything, but like, how was it? Tell me again.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, good event. Pleased with my result, not pleased with my results. If that makes sense, which we can kind of go into that. So my finish time was 3 hours and 14 minutes. And
I mean, that's nuts. Yeah.
So that was planned on being a lot better time. And it started off heading towards being a much better time. So I was comfortably running at a pace that would have got me through sub 3 and then some. But at K16, somebody ran into the back of me. Absolutely not their fault. Anybody that has seen the London Marathon on TV, it is carnage.
Yeah, it's chaos.
It is so busy. I've never ever been in an event that is that busy. It's literally like being in the crowd of a concert and everybody running. And of course, because I was trying to get a decent pace, everyone's running a little bit faster, and bumps have probably a bigger impact. So basically what happened there, without making any excuses, is the guy ran into the back of me at the water station, which caused me to roll my ankle, aggravating an existing injury. But it felt okay. I knew instantly that it wasn't okay, but it felt like I could carry on. So I tried to keep my pace going, and I managed it until about 25k, when I just had to make that decision: finish or DNF. So at that point, DNF, not really an option, because I was the wrong side of London. And even if I dropped out at that point, I would absolutely still have to get across the other side.
Right. Yeah. So it's more for practical reasons.
Yeah.
Than,
It's like, I'm going to be walking for the next hour and a half anyway, so I might as well just keep running. So what I did there was just drop the pace, found something that I was comfortable, and got myself to the finish. I say still put in that 3 hour 14-minute finish.
Yeah, I mean, that's still fucking nuts. So
yeah, I'm still really pleased with it. So it's actually my first actual marathon attempt. Although I've covered the distance plenty of time in other events, it's the first time I've actually tried to drill in and focus on that time. So what I've got now is a marathon PR, and I've got a baseline. I've got something now to beat next time, to work.
And you know you can do the other time. You know you can do it because you're already on it anyway. I
was so comfortable. My 5k I sub 25k, sub 40, 10k. My half marathon come through exactly where I wanted it. So I was sub 126, I think, which was exactly what I wanted, because my plan was to negative split. So my second half marathon should have actually been quicker. So that again was going to be putting me on for a much better time. So I would have been down towards that kind of 240, somewhere in the 240 range as a finish time. So, yeah, all in all, really, really good. Showed me I can get through the event. Shows I've got the mental capacity to get through the event. Shows me I've got the physical capacity to get through the event, because unfortunately something happened that just slowed me down, but I still got through it. So it was all good. But what I will say is that second half, I enjoyed it so much. Suddenly my head was up. I was looking around. I was seeing everything that was going on. Started to enjoy the marathon a little bit more. Started to realise that there was a crowd the whole way through. If you think the runners were busy, the people at the side of the streets was just insane. There were parties everywhere and that kind of thing. And just started to actually enjoy it a little bit more, which was
that's so sick.
Good. It got me thinking as well, like talking to people afterwards and getting to know people at the event, because obviously everyone's super friendly and everyone was just like so absolutely hyped. You start chatting to people, and I got chatting to this guy, and it just got me thinking about how many cool stories must be out there around the marathon, because this guy was like, he was so excited. He had just done sub 4. I think he came in like 3:58, 3:59 or something. So again, going back to my 3 hour 14, it actually made me really grateful for that time, because I understand that there's going to be a whole load of other people that would be desperate to get that sort
Yeah,
of time.
yeah, 100%.
But this guy was brilliant. He was like, "Oh, I think it would have been about a 3:51 or a 3:52." But partway through, I nipped in the co-op and I got a coffee and I grabbed a load of biscuits. And I was like, "Are you serious?" He's like, "Yeah, absolutely." He was like, I just had to have it." So he's like, "So I just took a break at the side and then got going again." I was like, "That's brilliant." But that to me just summed it all up.
Okay,
It's like he
all
just
right.
enjoyed it. He had such a good day. Got his sub hour, I have sub 4 hour, and he stopped for a coffee, which I thought was
Yeah,
amazing.
that's nuts.
And like,
Yeah,
I
fair
love
play.
the fact that there must be so many cool stories out there just
Mm.
around people's day. And I guarantee the people that enjoyed it the most and the people that actually got the most out of it, those guys that are like 4, 5, 6 hours, I bet they've got some cool
Mm.
stories, as opposed to the guys that are in that sort of front end, head down, just getting from A to B.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yeah, it was, but all in all, really, really cool day. Absolutely glad I've done it. Instantly went back to the hotel, entered the ballot for the next year.
Oh, shit,
Whilst trying
okay.
to figure out what marathon I do in between, because I've got
Yeah,
to
to
come in.
PRA, yeah, of course,
Yeah,
yeah. Get what you originally, maybe pick one that's slightly less busy,
yeah. I think that's
slightly
probably a
less
key thing there.
people.
I've
Yeah,
seen a couple. I've seen a couple that I think will that I'll probably aim for going into the second half of this year. What I don't want to do is rush into doing anything anytime soon from a marathon point of view.
yeah, you got
Um,
other shit going on, haven't you? So
Plenty of other stuff to do, but also, I mean, if you think about even pro guys, they're doing like 2 marathons a year tops, because it's though, although now I'm like 2 weeks out and I feel recovered and I feel great, it's like the actual time to recover from a marathon is at least a month. There's all these other things going in which probably don't need to dive into now, but your
oh, is it?
body isn't fully recovered from it. So
Shit.
it's one of those things where I think people feel better than they think they do at 1 week
Yeah,
out, 2 weeks out. If you think about the damage of running kind of 40 plus K at a decent pace that it's done to your body, like, and especially for someone like me, where I literally took 1 day off and then went straight back into training, it's
yeah, I know. I mean, I feel like because when I did mine, I feel like I didn't really take any time off at all.
hmm.
I just went straight back because I thought like because the old school rule was like, or like the old school kind of old wives' tales that you meditate like 6 months off, right? And I was like, that's just bullshit.
Well, that's
Like
not
that's
happening.
based on nothing.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't. I mean, by that time you're in pretty good nick,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I
Oh,
feel like
absolutely.
you're probably like it's just like you've had a really intense session. Yeah,
Yeah,
give yourself a few. I mean, maybe a week,
yeah.
but like I feel like after that you're fine. Like
I think the general rule that people kind of say with a marathon is it's about 4 to 5 weeks recovery that you don't know of. And by that, it means there's all this kind of micro damage. There's all this damage that's gone on, like with your sort of central nervous system and things like that. Your body is not necessarily going to be at 100% because of the effort you put in at that pace in that event. That doesn't mean that like 2 to 3 days later you don't start to feel better and you don't want to get up and train. And
yeah, I
yeah,
mean, maybe if you come back with a bit more of a calm approach rather than going straight back
yeah.
into normal training, then fair. But
But
yeah, I don't know.
for someone like me, like my goal coming out the back of the marathon from a training point of view was to get back into training and then go back in at a maintenance mode, which is what I'm doing now for a couple of weeks. And I think that's probably more what this is talking about. What you don't necessarily want to do is finish a marathon and then go straight into a block of marathon training. Because
Yeah, right.
so, and again, comparing obviously high-end athletes to general public, there's going to be a massive difference in what their training capacity is there mentally as well. I think a lot of people are just going to be exhausted from it, and they probably need that mental recovery as well. They've
Yeah,
just run
true. No, you're
42K,
right. You're
spent
right.
12 weeks training for it. They just want to take a break. Whereas again, for myself, it's kind of get the training done, get the event done, what comes next. And it's really easy for me to just like say take that day off, take 24 hours off, whatever it might be, and then jump into my next set of training. What I'm not doing is going straight out and start to do heavy speed work, heavy long distance work, this kind of thing. I'm just going to go right, I'm just going to gently turn my legs over and start to build them up. So I'm exercising at a recovery rate. That being said, it's 2 weeks later now, and I have done speed work. I have done heavy leg training, probably done all the things at this point that I don't
Yeah,
need
yeah,
to do.
yeah, yeah.
But that speed work felt heavy. The squatting felt heavy. So there's definitely that deep recovery that probably still needs to be done a little bit that you don't necessarily see.
Okay.
But all in all, yeah, I think feeling pretty good. Already thinking about the next thing. So July,
Yeah,
the
good stuff.
next event. August is going to be the next event after that. So I know exactly what's coming up.
Yeah, good. No, it's nice to have something in the book you can prepare for a little bit.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, nice. Is that everything on that? You like? Is there anything else you want to talk about in regards to the marathon?
I think really it was one of those things where thinking about that kind of getting injured partway through, and some of the things that we've talked about before, where it's just kind of like I had those two choices. It's like when I realized that 25k, what I did was I gave myself one easy k, which took me to k26. Then I had to really make that decision. It's like, do I try and up the pace again, or do I try and drop off? So what I tried to do was up the pace, and literally for about 30 seconds, it was like, I don't think I can hold that. There's no way. So what the decision there was just to almost just kind of like grit down and do whatever it takes to get to the end. It was never a case of, I think I'm not going to finish this. It was always just a case of, how do I finish this? And again, it just goes back to, I've put 12 weeks training into this block. Do I want to waste everything I've got there? Is being able to manage the pain bigger than the injury, or is the injury bigger than the managing the pain? And again, because I'm quite in tune with my own body, I know that it was hurting, but I knew the things I needed to do physically to adjust myself and the pace I needed to carry to get through to that end point. And I think that goes back to a lot of the stuff we've already started talking about, with just that kind of confidence in your environment, confidence with yourself, confidence with your body, and just understanding kind of what you are actually capable of. It was really easy just to make those small adjustments and just sit there until I got to the end. And I think that's just the absolute massive thing that sometimes people probably need to do, is just engage themselves a little bit with what they're doing. And you can easily surprise yourself. You can easily surpass what you're capable, or what you think you're capable of, just by kind of just being in that moment. And that's exactly kind of what happened for me. I knew that kind of sub 3 was off, it was gone. And mentally I had disengaged, and I probably did for about 2k. And that's why I was actually starting to think about like not finishing the race. But then I had to just readjust that thought pattern and actually sort of think, like, well, if I don't finish this race, have I wasted all this time? I know I'm not letting anybody down, but in my mind, I'm letting people down. There's all these people that obviously kind of came to see me run and that type of thing. And just kind of having that word with myself to figure out what I needed to do. And then, yeah, like I say, once I kind of got physically comfortable and mentally comfortable with what had happened, okay, so you're not going to get the time you want, but you can get to the finish. It was exactly like I said just now. You just started to enjoy it again a little bit more, started to see what was going on around you, and suddenly the focus was different. I was no longer angry because I wasn't going to get the time I wanted. I was now actually just enjoying myself because I could finish the run and I could take in the environment. So it's just that shift in focus during the event. And I think that was just a really, really big moment where it's just kind of like, right, I'm now just going to take away the competitive side of it and enjoy the moment. And that was a huge, huge, huge thing, I think. And that is exactly what got me through to the end there.
Yeah, I think there's like the default for whenever pain or whatever kicks in, the default your head is going to go to is stop. Like
Absolutely.
that is just the default, like just to say, like your body's going to try and save itself from any more like pain and agony and whatever. So you do have to, yeah, like you say, have that kind of like system override a little bit and just be like, nah.
I think I think that's a big thing for a lot of people, is that there's a difference between discomfort than there is actual pain. And I think exactly like you said there, you have that override. It's like, this hurts, this sucks, stop. I've always said that my worst distance is 5k. Not from I can go and run 5k point of view, but if I'm actually racing it or trying to get a 5k PR, because it's misery, because you're running so fast for what is a period of endurance. it's 5 kilometers, and you're going as close to all out as you can go without sprinting, and it hurts. It hurts your lungs, it hurts your legs. Everything about it is miserable. And the moment your head comes out of what you're doing, that it's over. The moment the moment you step away from it, and that's kind of what people generally do. They start to just think, right, this hurts, I don't like it, right, I'm just switching off. And so many races and so many events, lifting as well, people sort of let themselves down in the sense that they've already taught themselves out of it. There's so many, I think I've said this before, there's so many fighters that are just amazing in the gym, but get backstage before a fight, they're warming up, they talk themselves out of the win almost. It's like those nerves kick in, their negative thoughts kick in, all these things start telling you that you can't do it. And that's exactly what I kind of had there for this kind of 1K period. It's like, right, you're not doing this, you're not getting this time. It's like it hurts, it's miserable. It's like there's still another another 20 plus K to go at this point. It's like, why are you doing this? And there was absolutely that period where I was talking myself out of it, and then you have to turn it around. It was really easy for me in the sense that it was just kind of like, right, the pain is bad, but if I step off the gas a little bit, the pain's comfortable. Okay, my body feels good, my legs feel good, everything apart from that little tweak is good. And then I started thinking, it's like, well, if I still come in at around sort of 3.5 hours, still puts me in like the top 10 to 15% of finishers. And then you start to just have a whole other goal, and it just starts to change everything. And I think once I talked myself back into finishing, it just made everything easier. Suddenly the injury didn't hurt so much, and I could bear it. And all of these kind of things. And I mean, the pace was gone. Like that was it. I wasn't going to be able to run at that pace anymore. But just from that point of just being in the moment, enjoying the run, finishing the run, it's like it all switched back on again.
Good. No, I love that. Yeah, it's good that it's like, your mind will always try and generate excuses for things, really, to like not do something. Like will always be like, oh, I've earned this, or I deserve that, when it really you haven't earned or deserve shit. So, you know, like, you know, like no one really, you haven't earned, like, oh, like, you know, it could be as simple as like, oh, I had a long shift yesterday, I've earned not going to the gym tomorrow. It's just like, you haven't earned shit. I'm sorry, but like that's just life. Like you can't, you can generate excuses for like anything. Like, oh, I've had a bit of a long day, I'm not going to go to the gym. I've earned the rest. Oh, I've done really well in the gym this week, I'm going to take next week off because I've earned it. Like, as long as if you keep like generating excuses and saying you've earned or deserved stuff, that's such a slippery slope, because then you'll find the most minute reason to not do something, and then you're just caught in that trap.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. And it's really easy then to just take that into the next one. And then what happens over time is like you said, I'm going to take the week off. Well, at the end of that week, you then might start to feel one or two things happen. You either feel good about yourself, and you're kind of like, right, I'm ready to get in there, I'm ready to smash it, I've taken a week off, etc. Or you go the other way where the negativity is creeping in, and it's kind of, it goes even further. It's like, well, I haven't been for a week, I'm starting to feel crap, blah,
Guilty,
blah, blah. And then suddenly it's 2 weeks, it's 3 weeks, and you start to build up these kind of other problems and things like that. But what's quite interesting is that the whole mindset thing, it happens at all levels. And without just constantly focusing on running, Boston Marathon a couple of weeks ago, we saw it happen with Kipchoge. Arguably the greatest marathon runner of all time, was absolutely smashing the run, but missed one of his water bottles, which obviously at that level, it's got the exact amount of energy and fuel he needs for however long. And it completely threw his race to the point where he never recovered from it and ended up coming in like 8th place or 7th place, I believe. But that's at the highest level. And it was just that one thing changed, knocked his game plan, changed his mindset. And that was it. The race was almost lost for him over a water bottle. Which is just absolutely crazy that those kind of things can happen. And it's the same as fighting. It's like everybody's got a game plan until they get hit in the face, and it's what you do at that point.
Mike Tyson, isn't it? He said that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's what do you do then at that point? It's like, do you just sink into yourself, or do you just accept that this is where I am, this is the moment I'm in, and let's do this?
And crack on. Yeah, definitely, man. Love it.
And I think just going back to like the
Sorry.
regular everyday person, just those people that are going to the gym, those people that are going for runs and things like that. And like you said just now, I've earned this day off, or I've earned not going tonight, or whatever it might be. Those sessions where you feel truly crap and you talk yourself into going, how often are those the best sessions?
Best sessions, yeah. It's funny
Absolutely.
actually. I had a session with a client recently, and he messaged me after the session. He sent me a text saying like, "Oh, like thanks for today and stuff." Like today, I was like felt really, really shit, and like,
Yeah,
but I
yeah,
came anyway, and like I had a great time. Like it was a great workout. I smashed it and everything like that. And it was on a leg day, believe it or not. So I was like, if you're sending me that after a leg day where you felt like crap beforehand, that's like a good sign.
that's it.
Um, but it was just like, yeah, I was just like, that's what it's all about. It's like, I do say that a lot to people. It's just like the days where you feel the worst is when it's the most point that you show up.
Yeah,
It
and
always is.
I think some of that as well is because you've dragged yourself there. You're feeling crap, and what you like, you know, physically better. In fact, you're probably physically worse because you are feeling crap, but
Yeah,
mentally you're like, I'm going to prove it today. I'm going to do it. It's
yeah,
like, I don't know if you've ever trained with a hangover, and it's just like, I am
yeah,
not letting this beat me.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. If
And
anything, it
again,
helps
same
recovery a
thing.
little bit.
Yeah. You
Yeah,
might feel crap, but
it's how much you listen to them. It's all just
yeah,
noise. It's all just white noise inside your head. It's how much you're gonna listen to that noise. It's how
yeah,
much like you let that take a hold.
absolutely.
The more you get used to ignoring the noise, the more easier it becomes to deal with it. When you start noticing it as just noise and just like just crap. And do you know what? And this is what I found where it translates into real life a lot better. Like when you're feeling just like gym aside, like when you're feeling anxious or like a bit like kind of on edge and not your headspace isn't great, your mental state isn't good. A lot of that is just white noise.
Yeah,
It's not real. Like a lot of the anxiety shit is not. It's not. It's just like white noise inside your head, and you can start to notice that shit and
yeah,
start to kind of like bring yourself around and be like, oh no, this is just me being like not in a good space. It's all just white noise. None of it's real, and it
yeah.
just like,
100%.
it makes it easier to deal with all that shit. You can start controlling it, feeling a bit like bring yourself down to like a bit more of an emotionally stable state. I think that's why gym training is just the best shit there is, man.
I think that's exactly it. I think it is just understanding it for what it is. You have to acknowledge it. It's there. You've got something negative and you can't do this, you're hurting, you can't finish it. Or like you say, you're just having that bad day and like your anxiety's getting the better of you and all of this kind of thing. But just take it for what it is. It's not real. It's not something physically there stopping you. Like I
Yeah,
say,
yeah,
it's just that noise. And then you're stopping yourself. And I know that isn't the solution to all
yeah,
the mental health problems out there. Of course it isn't.
yeah. Right, right.
But just day to day, it's like sometimes you do just need to take that step back. I've done it so many times where I don't know, speed sessions would be a great example of it, where it's just kind of like you almost do the first rep and then you just need to talk to yourself in the recovery. It's like, right, that didn't go as planned. Don't drag that last rep into the next rep. Yeah, it's like
Yeah,
you've done that one, it was poor. Right, refocus, off we go. You know you can do better, you know you can do this. And it's the same with kind of lifting and that sort of thing. It's like you you might just throw the weight on and it could be an easy weight that you do day in day out, like 365 days a year, whatever it might be. And then it just sometimes it just feels heavy. Well, the weight hasn't changed. So you might be tired, you might be run down, but it's probably something that you can lift. And again, sometimes you just need to take that step back, just acknowledge what's going on. Right, it feels heavy, I'm a little bit feeling a bit crap right now, but then you just take it on. And very often, like you say, you can get past that noise. You can just talk yourself back into that
back
moment.
into space.
And I've absolutely done that so many times with like overhead lifts, snatches and things like that. The amount of times that as soon as I felt the bar, I've talked myself into that I'm not getting this over my head.
Yeah,
And I've had to just step back. And sometimes what I'll do is just peel the weights back a little bit and rebuild. And
mm,
just something small like that, just do a couple of reps lighter and then just rebuild back up to where I was. And usually I just need to do something to unstick it.
yeah,
So yeah, it's absolutely our minds will stop us for our body. There's no doubt about that.
yeah. You'll always talk yourself out of something. But yeah, no, it's good stuff actually.
Absolutely not the tangent we expected to go off on.
No, no. I was gonna say I had was my birthday last week, so I
Happy
had
birthday.
a little love. Thank you. I had a lovely trip down to Dartmoor.
Oh, lovely.
Was meant to be down there. I was down there Thursday, Friday. Thursday was like horrible weather, so we couldn't go out to the moors. So we just spent. We were staying in this little town called Dawlish, so we just sort of wandered around the town for the day.
It's
Mucked
where
about
I
in the
grew up, down
arcades and
around that area.
stuff. Yeah, had some chips by the seaside. They're always better by the sea. They just are.
100%.
But Friday was lovely weather, so went and did some outdoor bouldering for the first time. So I haven't done any outdoor climbing yet, like at all. I've just been indoor climbing for months and months and months. Just get the experience of that. Yeah, it was brilliant. It's totally, I mean, yeah, it's totally different. I had this guidebook that I brought with me, so like it has like all the routes and stuff and all the locations and shit, and it tells you, just gives you all the detail basically. I ended up not using it. I got there and I was just like, I didn't know. I was trying to find the guidebook of the spot I was at, and I was like, I'm trying to connect the dots here of like, is this
Yeah.
this place? Is this that? But I was like, I don't know. So I kind of got to a point where I was just like, screw it. I'm just gonna find, and the rock formations around there are amazing. And I'm gonna
Dartmoor is
send you
awesome.
some. I'm gonna send you some clips and stuff. We try and overlay it to this once we get into more specifics, but. So I was just like, okay, well, I'm here. There's rocks everywhere. I'm just going to make up my own routes. So I just kind of did that. I was like, the objective with bouldering is to get from the bottom to the top, right? So if I just pick a route and a location that looks like, I'm just going to try and figure it out. I mean, yeah, Dartmoor is incredible, but the rock is so sharp, it's crazy.
Yeah, because it's
so
all granite there, isn't it?
Literally, and I slipped my middle finger open. It's kind of healed now.
Yeah,
it was a good clean. Like I was trying to figure out. Annoyingly, a lot of the rock was still wet because it had rained the day before. So I was doing this sort of route on the side. I can send you the clip. And I literally was just feeling out the next move, right, to reach up to the side. And I was just like, that's way too wet. So I took my hand away, and as I took my hand away, I just sliced my finger open.
Yeah.
Like right clean down the whole of the pad at the top of my finger. And it just bled for a while, but luckily I could just tape it up and I carried on. It was actually okay. But yeah, I mean, it was brilliant. I kind of just found a ton of stuff. I did one climb that I'm really happy about that was quite risky. It was on a little bit of it's a decline, so like leaning inwards a little bit, so it kind of took some of the danger out of it, but it was, probably twice as high as a usual boulder wall. I was just looking around, like trying to find some routes to do. I was just like, what can I look at? And I came around the corner, I saw this big wall. I was like, I reckon I could climb that. I was like, that looks so climbable. There's plenty of handholds. There's a nice big crack I can follow all the way to the top. So I got that done, and it's nuts. Like compared to indoor climbing, like the feet feel so much more secure when you're outdoors.
Okay.
Like because the rock is so grippy. Like my even when I was just putting all my pressure on like one foot, like I could just feel the friction. Like my foot's not going to slip on that.
Yeah.
There's no way in hell my foot's peeling off this. I didn't think I had any real 1 foot slip the whole day compared to indoor climbing where it happens a fair amount. So that was a really good climb. I'm hoping to do a lot more around Bristol this summer. But yeah, it's one of those things. It's definitely it's a completely different experience. And I found that like the grading is much harder. So like say for example, like a 6A or like a V3 inside a bouldering gym, it's like, I can flash all those routes. They're a piece of piss. Like I don't struggle with them at all. But that outside,
reality,
fucking hard. Like I remember I bumped into another couple of climbers there, and I was just like, and they were doing a climb. I just like started talking chat to them. Like they were like, oh, this is, I think that they were saying, oh, this is a 6A plus 6B. So I was like, okay, I could probably flash that, a piece of piss. And then they were doing it. I was like, I literally can't even start that. Like I literally can't even grip it. I was like, that's nuts. Like the grading is so much stiffer when you go outdoors suddenly. I don't know if it's just because a lot of the routes were made a while ago, and I don't know. I think indoor routes might be a little bit easier in some respects. I don't know. I think it kind of depends on the location. A lot of time, especially with outdoor grading, I find it's definitely up to the person who made it. Like a lot of grading outdoors is like whoever made that route set the grade, so it's totally different. Depending on whoever made up the grade, and no one really changes them once they're set.
Do they regrade? No,
not really. I don't think it really gets regraded. So like it could have been graded 20 years ago by someone who was already really, really good, like an 8A climber did this climb and thought, oh, that's only fucking 6A, that's a piece of piss. But actually it could be a 6C plus. So it's like the grading is a bit all over the place. But I want to definitely go back. It's one of those places you can kind of do in a day where we're from. It's not that far.
Yeah, so a few things there. First of all, I'm from Exeter. So I
Right,
live
yeah, you're on
door
your
lift. So I
doorstep,
went
on your doorstep,
Dartmoor.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Dartmoor. Like I spent so much time there as
it's
a kid.
amazing.
Whereabouts on Dartmoor did you go?
So we went to Bonehill Rocks.
Yeah, yeah,
So like big location, like it's
yeah.
probably the main spot that people go to. Like just so many routes around there. It's just
Yes.
endless. And then Beltor, which is just like
Yeah.
100 meters, 200 meters away from it. So that was the only spot we went to. But there was
Lovely.
plenty there to do really.
Yeah. The thing with Dartmoor as well is it's like there's just going to be now. Obviously, I've bouldered, but I know nothing really about it. Okay,
Yeah.
but I'm going to imagine on somewhere like Dartmoor is like it's like your imagination is your playground.
Yeah,
It's
right.
there's got to be so much there for you.
Yeah. You can just make stuff up. Like that's the
Yeah,
thing. It's like compared to indoors, right? Here's the route, you do it, right? Whereas like out there it's like it's just a rock. Like it wasn't made to be
I'd like get
climbed.
freaky
Like,
into.
yeah.
Yeah.
So like the kind of the routes you can make it's like infinite.
Yes.
So it's kind of like, well, I can kind of make this up. Oh, there's a hole there. I can kind of use that. I'm gonna try and get on like so yeah, you can kind of it's kind of cool in that respect. I do want to go back and like actually try and send some routes that have been like pre-made so I can
Yeah,
kind of
of
know
course.
what I'm working with.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's tons. I've got a Bristol guidebook as well. There's tons of stuff around Bristol, so I'm definitely going to start going out and doing now the weather. Hopefully the weather gets a bit nicer and start going. Yeah, because
Might
it's
be
been
waiting a while.
crap lately. Yeah, it's been crap.
Yeah.
So hopefully do some more outdoor stuff. Annoyingly, I don't know many people that don't really know anyone that does rope climbing. So I'm kind of locked into doing bouldering now, but that's fine. I mean, I've got a mat, I've got everything I need. It's fine. But I do still love indoor. I can't lie. Feel like I'm never going to completely transition to going outside. I do kind of just I do like indoor climbing.
Do you think?
Um,
Do you think like the transition from outdoor to indoor, indoor to outdoor, like is it a big gap? Obviously, you said it's now like the route, but that could definitely be down to like the person that
yeah,
graded them. But do you think like indoor climbing translates well to outdoor climbing, or
I don't know. I mean, like, I guess technically, I mean, yeah, it's all climbing. Like technique wise, it doesn't change much, but the feel is completely different. Like
yeah,
you're like outside, so like things like if whether it's cold or humid can make a difference.
yeah, the
What type
environment,
of rock you're using can make a difference. Um, just stuff like that. Like the whole kind of it feels completely different. It feels a little bit weirdly more natural, obviously, because
sure,
you're
yeah,
actually climbing something that's outside. Like it does feel weirdly more natural. Um, but I think, I mean, generally, like the strength will translate. Like if you're training your fingers, you're training your fingers. Like
yeah,
that works the same. There's techniques, toe hooks, heel hooks, different drop knees. It's all the same shit. Like you're still climbing. It's just
yeah,
like the feel of it is a little bit different.
yeah.
And obviously going through the process is different because obviously like with your going outdoor, you've got to like have a mat ready and you've got to like clean stuff and like if there's moss on holes, you got to get moss off. You've actually got there's a bit more of a
It's
process
the
involved.
environment, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's just more just the environment in general is completely different. But yeah, I mean, yeah, as an experience, it's totally different for sure.
yeah,
Like, yeah, because obviously you kind of have to be a little bit more creative with it.
yeah.
I think it does open up a lot more possibilities for sure because there's just this piece of rock in front of you. You can kind of approach it any way you want. Whereas obviously in an indoor gym, you're locked in because that's the route you're set. But I kind of also like that aspect. Like there's the route. You got to do that. That's the grade. There's the route.
That's the
Do
goal.
that.
Yeah,
That's the goal. So it's kind of like I think the outdoor grading is a little bit more wishy-washy. Like it's kind of uncertain, and obviously depending on who set it and what ability level they were at the time. So it's a little bit more over the place. Like I imagine there might be a case of where there'll be like a 60 plus that I can smash out, and then a 6A that I can't do, and that's a big graded jump. But just because I don't have the skills to do that, whereas in the gym I think it'd be a little bit more consistent in terms of grading and stuff. But I mean, yeah, it was a lot of fun. I've just
awesome,
started a new meso literally this week. So I'm
perfect.
starting to climb 3 times a week and do 2 gym days.
Okay,
Because I just need to get the volume of my climbing up. I'm pretty sure that's just the main thing I need to do. I just need to climb more.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
absolutely. You
improve.
need to train to the test.
Just need to train, like
Yeah,
like there's no better way to get better at climbing than climbing. So
yeah, absolutely.
and then I'm just trying to do strength training for climbing, and then obviously my gym training is kind of just all complementary work
Yeah,
to support the climbing. Really, everything I do is just to support that. So yeah, no, I'm looking forward to the next 12 weeks worth of training, see where I'm at the end of that. Yeah, no, good stuff. I'm happy.
Excellent. So I think
Yeah.
like going back to a few things there, kind of there's kind of two things. One of them is like the reason I sort of asked about like does the indoor translate to the outdoor is
Yeah.
because I use running as a great example. I do a lot of treadmill running.
Yeah. Right.
And yet my strength is absolutely trail running, and there's obviously a huge difference between trail running and treadmill running.
Yeah.
But and I have this conversation with a lot of people. They're like, "Oh, why do you spend so much time on the treadmill? Why, like, surely that doesn't work. Surely it doesn't translate." And for me, it absolutely does. At the core of it, you are still running in the same way as at the core of it, you are still climbing. Yeah. Like there's a core thing there happening, and that isn't going to change. Like my mechanics might be slightly different, and the treadmill might be dictating the pace for me and things like this, but I think absolutely they have a place. And for me, when I use treadmills, I'm actually I try to dial in as much as possible and think about, okay, are my mechanics good? Am I doing the right thing? Am I kind of lifting my feet? Am I striking in the right place? And it allows me to really zone in on the activity I'm doing, to focus on the thing I'm doing, which is obviously running. Whereas when I'm outside trail running, for example, you aren't landing smoothly, you aren't landing in a straight line, you're off at angles, you're skipping over things, and your mechanics aren't as dialed in as they might be because it's that uneven course. And it's very much, again, obviously, like you said, when you're climbing indoor, you've got to follow a set route, a set pattern to get from A to B.
There's far more in your control.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you're outdoor climbing, you've got to be a little bit more imaginative. You've got to do this, you've got to do this, you've got to work around things. Like you say, the environment then suddenly becomes a factor. Again, exactly safe trail running. Where we live, obviously, there's a lot of trails around here, but given the way the weather is at the moment, from one day to the next, those trails are different. The running machines, treadmills, I've got that consistency of always being able to get onto the treadmill, make sure my mechanics are bang on. But then when I'm outside, it might be sloppy mud, it might be rock hard ground, it might be cut grass, it might be uncut grass that's up to my waist. There's all these different variables from the environment completely change it, and then suddenly it's no longer just a run. It's like you are dealing with the environment. And I think that's a really good thing, is that one of them is for me to really focus on the actual application of the movement and the exercise, and then the other one is to actually kind of focus on training to the test. So when I'm outside, if I've got a trail run coming up, I'm training specifically for a trail run by hitting the trails. And of course, like for example, I've got in July, I've got a team race on the Cotswolds relay. So basically doing the Cotswold Way top to bottom. There's a large race there each year, and I'm part of a team that are doing that. I know the leg I'm doing. My leg's already been determined. I know the distance of it, and I know the trail. I've been up there plenty of times. You can guarantee that in July when I do it, it's going to be very different to the last time I did it, and it's going to be different. It's an ever evolving trail, just because of the weather, the winds, the whatever it might be. And I think that's a really good thing about just using these different tools for slightly different purposes, but to work towards that same goal. So your goal is obviously being a better climber, and you're going to use the indoor and the outdoor to do that, in the same way that I want to be a better runner. So I'm going to use the indoor and the outdoor to do that. Obstacle course racing, it's very, very difficult for me to go and replicate the obstacles that I'm going to be competing on stage. It's pretty much impossible to do that, even down to the point where like monkey bars, and there's obviously monkey bars in lots of playgrounds and things like that, but they're very different to the monkey bars that I'm going to have to use in an obstacle course race, because normally they're fat bars, they're different heights, they're different widths, like there's no consistency to them, and you can't train that. But what you can do is create an environment that gets you as close as possible to being able to train that. And trying to replicate that with different exercises. So again, right back to the indoor climbing and the treadmills, it's like you're using those tools as best as you can to replicate the real world application of it.
It's all training. It's all training.
And at the end of the day, it is just all training. Going back right to the very essence of it, it's like you're getting up, you're moving your body, you're burning calories, you're doing the right things, as opposed to just sitting there.
100%.
So there's no doubt about it. You also sort of mentioned there, just started a new mesocycle. So I guess for people listening.
Oh, right. Yeah. Shall I explain what mesocycle?
Micro. How would you define those kind of three
I
if
mean,
that's even how you work with them.
yeah. So I mean, micro would be, to me anyway, micro is between 1 and 4 weeks, and then like mesocycle would be 8 to 12, and then a macro can be, well, kind of up to a year really.
It's a year. Yeah.
Up to, yeah, like a year. So it just kind of breaks that down pretty much into,
Yeah, it's very similar to how I feel. I kind of, yeah, the micro, I'm kind of looking at my week on week.
yeah.
Yeah,
I kind of,
almost.
I generally like, I only really work kind of meso to meso. Like I don't
Yeah,
really know like
100%.
I don't know what my next meso is going to be yet. I'm kind of, I maybe know a little bit, but like I'll start thinking about that in like week 9, week 10. And then I'm
Yeah,
thinking, okay, where am I at, and what do I want to do next?
for me, it's slightly different because I usually know in advance what race I have.
Yeah,
But usually
right.
do a cycle based around that. Um, like you say, kind of looking at things year on year, I go with the assumption that I'm going to be fit and healthy next year, and so on. And I know,
Yeah, I hope so.
yeah, and I'm not worried about that larger term because for me, this is all just about longevity. It's like at some point
Yeah,
I start
right.
eating and so on and so on. But right now, it is just that focus on doing a cycle that gets me comfortably placed for that event in July. And I've already started looking at what that cycle kind of looks like. But I already know that I'm racing in August as well on an obstacle course race. So I've got July is perfect example of something that can lead straight into that next cycle. So my July race is shorter than my August race. So that's perfect because obviously I'm going to be building up to that longer race. So it's not like I need to focus on one race and then sort of change anything to get to the next one. They're both going to be racing on trails. So that's absolutely perfect. And then I just know that obviously for the obstacle course race in August, as I get closer to the event, I just need to start bringing in more and more of that obstacle based fitness. So being able to run a little bit more broken, where I might run, do an exercise run, so on, start mimicking, like you said just now, mimicking the monkey bars and things like that. And I kind of base my cycles exactly around that, basing them on exactly what the upcoming test is.
It's quite good that we actually have those kind of different approaches, because I structure mine around like just getting better over time indefinitely. Yeah. Like, I don't have a comp or anything that I'm working towards. It's just I want to just consistently get better and not plateau. That's it, really. Yeah, so that's quite good that then we do have that kind of difference. And then I just want to keep the stimulus fresh, you know. There's always exercises that I'm never not going to do. Like there's certain hangboarding stuff I do, fingerboarding that I do that is kind of never going to change. I just want it to just consistently get better. And it's for me that it's just the case. Like every meso is gonna, there's some exercises I'm never ever going to change.
Yep.
Like I'm always probably going to just do shoulder press as an accessory, just because like I might switch out whether I do barbell or dumbbell, but generally that's always going to be in there. Calf raises are always going to be in there, like because I want it. That's the best way to weight your calf, but there's no other way. So that's just always going to be there. It's more just like little things that I might change. I'm testing out this new thing though. I've never seen anyone do this, but I'm trying to sort of take the force velocity approach to pull-ups. So I do force pull-ups for like super low rep, really high weight. I had actually at PR last week, I got 50 kilo 1 rep max pull up, which I'm gassed about. It's a 66 kilo body weight, so that's 75% of my weight.
High percentage,
yeah. But I'm trying this thing in the next 12 weeks where basically I want to improve the speed and like the aspects. So I want to increase the overall power of my pull up, whatever. So I put like 5 kilos, just 5 kilos between my legs, and I stand on a box and I drop down until I'm at full lockout, full stretch. And when I feel that stretch short and kick in, I pull as high and hard as I can. So my head will go, the bar will come to where my shoulder is, and then just sort of drop down and drop. So I don't really worry about the eccentric portion. I do that about 5 times, just like pulling as hard as I can, as fast as I can. So I'm kind of hoping that, because obviously a normal pull up, you kind of stop. It's the same difference between doing like a deadlift where you stop, or like a deadlift with a power, like a clean, like a hang clean where you actually follow through with it. So I'm trying to take that approach with a pull up and just follow through as hard as I can and fast as I can. Just to see if like it improves that explosive pulling power a little bit more, because then I have the force and the velocity component both there.
It's really funny that you've said that, because obviously with the obstacle course racing coming up, I'm going to have a lot of overhead work to do and a lot of hanging by my hands to do. And what I've actually got consistently week on week is a pull-up program that I'll follow through that. It's very, very similar. So at the moment, I've literally this week started, and it's just really simple bodyweight pull-ups from a dead hang, always kind of strict from a dead hang, 4x10, so 4 sets of 10 body weight. Okay, then what we'll do next week is we'll start to add the weights, and just start to build that weight up while starting to bring the reps down, probably over the next 3 to 4 weeks. Then exactly what you started saying there is I will go into doing it in sets of 5. But what they'll do is I'll work up to my heaviest weight that I can lift over a set of 5 for 5 reps. So there's no single rep stuff, but it's all weighted up to what would be near failure at 5 reps. Drop the weight, and then go exactly into what you've said there, which is from the dead hang, an explosive pull up, and actually trying to do exactly the same thing, try and get the bar to kind of nipple height. So that if I was actually just thinking I want to muscle up, because muscle up is actually a big movement that we use in obstacle courses, like getting over walls and things like that. To boxes. And it's a very, very similar approach there, but two very, very different reasons.
Different reasons for it. Yeah, because that's the thing. If I'm doing like a dyno, basically a dyno, so like you in climbing, so you pull and you sort of jump and reach for something. So a lot of the time you kind of need to use momentum. So I'm trying to sort of mimic that kind of bob where you go into full lockout and then just pull as hard as you can. I'm kind of hoping that like there will be I mean, there must be some translation. I want to see how my muscle ups feel at the end of this 12 weeks compared to the start if I'm just doing those really hard pull-ups. As I say, just trying to get as high as I can. So I'm kind of curious to see how it will affect things. I'm sure it'll have some sort of impact, but it's not something you really see anyone doing. I've never seen anyone do it, so I'm kind of just I'm hoping I invent something here and that it will catch on and someone will be like, oh yeah,
absolutely. We probably sound like we need to have a pull-up session together at some point.
Oh god,
but
I usually do you pull like with your like heavy weights? Because I pull here with heavy weight, like neutral.
No, I go
because I can pull more
palms in, and the reason I do that is, again, it's because of obstacle courses. There's 2 obstacles that I will need to use that movement of dead hang and pulling over.
That's what I'll do with this fast stuff, is I do that way, but with the force stuff I do this way. And
the 2 exercises I've got, the 2 obstacles I've got is, one of them is a box. Okay, so there's an obstacle the other side of it, but it's a box, and I believe the box is 8 foot, but basically I need to get onto that platform. Okay, and over the top.
I'm sure. Do you have a run up as well?
Yeah, so I'm gonna.
Oh, that definitely helps. You get that single leg kick up, you're up,
and you're up and over.
That's a piece of piss. Yeah.
What you don't have there is any kind of kip or any kind of swing, because it's box, so you're flat against it. Okay, so that's the first one. And again, like you say, you're going to have that step. You're going to have trail shoes on, they're a bit grippy, and you can pop yourself over. But you need to be really comfortable in getting that muscle up.
Transition,
palms. The second one is just walls. There's flat walls, 6, 7, 8 foot, I believe, 3 different height walls. And again, you've just got to scale them. But again, it's exactly the same thing. Single foot, hands on it. Now, these are a lot easier in the boxes because you can grip. So you can almost false grip and pull yourself over. And and then there's different ways then again over. People will step over. If you're confident, you'll go over head first and twist. There's different ways dealing with the other side.
Swing a leg over,
some people will just wait for another person to give them a lift up. Some people will run around it, no doubt. But I think, and that's what I'm looking for, though, is just having that explosiveness that, as I start to fatigue, I can still pop. And that's just a really, really big movement that I need to get comfortable with. Where it also works really well for me, which is probably something that isn't thought about so much, is things like the overhead work, like monkey bars or ring swings and things like this. So I don't do the relaxed arm with my arm fully extended. Okay, I do them all with my arm in an L-shape type. So monkey bars, for example, I actually go sideways and I go hand to hand. And the reason I do that is because I've got 3 points of grip. So the first one is that I'm always going to try and get a false grip. And I've got this L-shaped arm, so I've got kind of I'm using my biceps more rather than sort of monkey swinging. And the reason for that is that if you're hanging by your body, so if you think about a dead hang, there's only one thing that can go, and that's your grip. Once your hand goes, you're going to drop. So for me doing that, I've got 2 points where 3 points really where I can drop, and that is that one, my false grip can drop to a regular grip. and the other one is that obviously my L-shaped arm can drop to an extended arm. So I've got these stages of falling off. Not that I ever want to fall off, but I just take it slightly differently. And again, I can get through these very, very quickly.
It's quite interesting because in climbing, you kind of do the opposite. So you do kind of work with as much of a straight arm as you can, because especially when if you're doing a long route, because the more you're locked in, the more you get pumped.
Yes.
So if you're like engaging, like the longer you engage, the more pumped you get. So if you can kind of just work everything from just kind of like hanging, keeping, like they always say, like keep straight arms as much as you can. It's not always as easy as that, because depending on where the holds are. But generally, if you can, like try and keep like straight arms. Like whenever you always try and start a route with fully straight arms. But yeah, just to avoid pump, basically.
I think
I get what you're saying.
The thing with like an obstacle course race is
speed,
I can get the monkey bars in a few seconds.
Yeah,
and then
speed. Yeah.
So it's about getting through those as quickly as possible. If you don't have the strength to hold yourself like that, then obviously it is very different. You are going to get pumped and gassed very, very quick. And for me, like I say, I go hand to hand. So every other hand, I'm doing a half a second of like a one-armed hold. But obviously my momentum takes me through to the next one. So I've got the strength and physicality to do that, but I appreciate how it does work for other people. I wouldn't want to do that for 30 seconds, a minute and a half, 2 minutes.
Yeah.
It's because I can get through, let's say 12 bars. I can get through those in a couple of seconds.
You're also holding onto a bar, whereas obviously with climbing, you're holding onto like nothing. So it's like the difference is like, it's huge.
It's usually a bar. Well, you normally have two sets. One's normally bars and one's normally rings. Right. So you and again, they're not normally back to back.
But it's still like staggered. That.
It's still a And again, I'll
hand.
try to. And again, a lot of it is how you approach it and how you get onto it. I try to go for a false grip, so that if my grip does slip, I'm going to just a regular grip,
hang,
and then through you go. So again, you've got that minimum point of failure that I can go from false to normal before potentially I fall off. Haven't fallen off yet, but you can guarantee that's coming from the next one now.
Nice. Nice. Oh man, well, I think we've been going for a good amount of time. I don't even know how long we've been going for.
I have no idea. I think we probably covered quite a few things there.
Damn. Yeah, I think we covered some really good stuff. We got the marathon stuff in, plus all the mental stuff, which is good. Then there's some random other training stuff, which I think is good. No, I think that's smashed.
I think that's excellent. Yeah, I think we covered off some great things there. I think we both know where our training is going over the next
I don't know what to call this episode. No. What is easy? What is the general consensus? I don't know. Random shit. Perhaps that's the way forward. Climbing, marathons, and random shit. Yeah. I think we've definitely got a long list of stuff, so we'll get back to talking about specifics next time, or as much as we can, because we always have to talk about the shit.
We need to aim for getting a bit more consistent. Last couple of weeks, for whatever reason,
just been busy as hell.
Been busy, but we'll try and get back to that once a week. Start banging it out there.
Definitely.
I think it's all good. Excellent.